Okay, hello everyone. A big pleasure being here. My name is Jakub. I was asked to present here because from all the technical people in Databricks, I'm one of the very few that can actually speak Czech or Slovak in my case, but it turns out this presentation is in English, so my only advantage vanished just like that. So I will still try to present something meaningful to you guys. I'm actually going a little bit away from what was the original, at least the title of the presentation. It was supposed to be about Genie and Genie code. This still will be the main content of the presentation, but actually I wanted to look at this from a different angle because we're Databricks. We are great at renaming our stuff and rebranding our stuff, and we have a lot of products with the similar names. So today it's all about agents and agentic workflows, and the idea behind Genie and Genie code is also to be able to democratize the AI and ML and the agents. So I would like to answer a couple of questions. Basically, there are three questions that usually come to at least my mind when I think about AI. How do you develop AI? How do you actually deploy the agents? And then how do you serve the content to the end users? Because these are the most important in the end. So I will try to show you two paths actually to the problem, because Databricks is a very universal platform. And the two paths will be one that's provided by Databricks, so already that comes with the platform, but the other one is a custom one. So in case you don't want to use our stuff, but you still want to use Databricks, then you can of course do your own, as it was always with everything, not just with agents, but we always try to have these two paths in the Databricks. So I think there is a big truth in this diagram here. I don't want to be a marketer here. I don't want to sell you Databricks, but as I learn more and more things, I really think that and this is universal picture. Okay, so it's not just for Databricks, but if you already have a platform somewhere, use that platform, because simplicity is a huge benefit. And I know that there are tools that are faster than Databricks. There are tools that are better in one aspect or the other. There are tools that are cheaper for a particular task. Yes, but you can try to deploy and integrate and manage and support all the components that are there in the world. You would probably end up with a stack of running obscure technologies such as, I don't know, HBase and like stuff that are great on paper, that do one thing very well, but in the end, if you want to operate the whole ecosystem of that, it's not going to scale. So I really think that, and if we do one thing great in Databricks, I think it's that we are very universal and we are very open. So you can usually solve every problem with Databricks. And yeah, it's not going to be best at every angle, but you will get the job done. So the three questions I would like to cover today is, first of all, how do you write the code with AI? How do you deliver the value with AI? And how do you serve it to users? So as promised, there are two paths, so managed and custom. And I will start here actually with the managed path. And the first one, how do I develop the code? So using Genie code. Genie code, those of you that were familiar with Databricks Assistant, basically this bubble at the right-hand corner. So this one is called Genie code now. It's not just about renaming stuff. This one comes with a lot of new functionality. So I'll try to do what I should not be doing probably, and that's to show you a live demo. So now, first of all, there's a different icon. By the way, is it too small? Shall I make it bigger? Probably the people in the, yeah. Okay, I hope it's a little bit better. So what's Databricks, or Databricks Assistant, Genie code now. So what's Genie code? It's basically the things that you would be doing with your own agents. The theme to okay, maybe that would be better. Okay, how does one do that in Databricks? That's the thing. Better? Okay, amazing. So how would you use this utility here? So actually, I wanted to prep for today's session. I didn't want to use some corporate data set, so I asked Claude to scrape some data about the beer consumption in Czech Republic. So I'll be using this one as my main data set, and I will just leverage the Genie code for one simple thing. So I already have the scraped data set. I will ask Genie, as you see, I did it already in the past, but I will tell it, build me beer consumption dashboard using the PivoBot schema. And now, basically, what this utility will do, so it's already able to work with all the resources at Databricks. It's able to create jobs at Databricks, create reports, basically whatever you could do as a user using the user interface, Genie code can do for you as well. So it's using an agent on the background, so it's reasoning, it's running multiple tasks in parallel, it can do all of that. So what I would do normally is I would bring in some data, so probably it's now looking at my data set, it will check what data makes sense for this dashboard, and over time it's going to build a dashboard. So it already found out some data, so it's going to work. I will just say, okay, I already said allow all, so it's going to do all of that, but it's always asking for permission, so it's not just going to destroy your data, don't be afraid. And yeah, this is running under your user, by the way. So why I said it's not just a rebranding of the naive assistant is because you can do actually a lot of things. So you can connect your own MCP servers to this guy. You can provide instructions, you can have instructions that are shared for the whole workspace, you can do skills. Unfortunately, these are not the same skills as you would use for Claude, so you need to customize them a tiny bit, but it can actually self-heal and it can actually repair its own skills. So you can do all of that, and maybe you are all asking me, okay, that's all nice, I just want to use Claude, the best model of Claude. And the answer is you can absolutely do that. In the meantime, let's look where this guy is. So it already created my data sets here, and now it's thinking about the widgets that it will put here. And at some point I will have my dashboard created. I don't have to touch a thing. I don't have to write any SQL. It's going to do this for me. But I will just quickly give you one idea why you might not want to use Claude everywhere, even though I love Claude and I'm using Claude on a daily basis. So I will just look at my usage of Claude tokens today. And as you can see, I already burned through $206 of Claude tokens today. So that's one of the reasons why you should not use it for everything, even though it's an amazing model and it's very capable. And of course, it can build this dashboard for you as well. What's different between Claude and Genie code is that Genie code comes with all the skills pre-configured, so it doesn't have to do trial and error. Claude would usually try this maybe 3 or 4 times. At some point it will fail, it will ask the API for help, it will self-heal, it will do all of that, but it needs time and it costs money. So the great thing about Genie code, it comes with the platform, you don't pay anything for the tokens. The only consumption that you guys have is from the code that is running. So if it would run SQL, of course you will pay for the uptime of this SQL warehouse. If it's running a notebook, you will pay for the all-purpose compute. If it's running a job, you will pay for a job, but you are not paying for the use of this tool at all. So that's really nice. In the meantime, it has built a dashboard. So as you can see, I don't know how good that is, but it can build a dashboard and you can interact with the dashboard later. So that's it. So coming back to the other option. So if you would still prefer, by the way, can you read the black on this one? I hope you can, but anyway, I'm talking mostly to the slides. So the other option would be that you don't want to use Genie code, and that's fine. You can still use your own tools, and we help you in this regard. So if you want to use Claude, Cursor, Codex, whatever, custom agents, we in Databricks, we have Databricks Labs projects, which is something that it's not our core product. We don't like fully support it all the time, even though usually these projects are supported in the end. So we have a thing called AI Dev Kit, and AI Dev Kit is a set of curated resources basically developed by Databricks. So there is a lot of skills, and you can use your own agent and just learn your own agent how to use Databricks in the right way. So it doesn't have to guess all the time. You can probably save some tokens if you use these skills. So the other part, if you prefer to use your own tooling, you can absolutely do that, and you can use the skills that we provide, and you can then just hook your own agent into that and run this guy as well. So that's the other custom path, right? So let's go back. The other question I have is how do I build agents, right? So and here comes a thing called Genie. So we are also not great at naming things because we have Genie and Genie code. So Genie is a utility that's meant to talk to your data. So if you already have data on Databricks and you would like to bring in the business users, the people that don't necessarily speak SQL or they are not technical, they simply don't want to do that. So for them, we have a thing called Genie. And we have a thing called Agentbricks. So Agentbricks is a collection of agents that we have created, and you can just use them out of the box. So again, let's go back to Databricks. First of all, let's go to Genie space. So I have created a Genie space on top of the data. This is the data that I have scraped about the beer consumption. So you can, sorry, you can ask it a question. Prague pubs that serve Matuška beers, and if I scrape the correct data, Genie will answer. So how it will do it, it's going to take my query, it's going to translate this into a SQL code. I can even look at the code, and it's going to run this code under my user. So now we can forget if this is right, or if the data that it retrieves is right, but it's going to work like this. It's going to generate the code, run the code under my user, respecting my privilege model, row level filters, column level masks, all of that. And yeah, at some point it's going to answer. Why it takes, sorry, no, now it's there. So there are some bars that, according to the data I scraped just now, are serving Matuška. I don't know if it's correct, but the good thing about it is that I can also pass feedback, so the authors of this Genie space will be able to see if it's replying correctly, if it's doing the right stuff. And again, this runs completely under my user. So this is a Genie space. It's designed to be as simple as possible, so you cannot configure that much. Like, you don't decide what model runs underneath, you don't decide what's the context size. This all comes with Databricks and you use it as is. But the nice thing about it is you can plug it into other applications. This has its own MCP server, this has a Python SDK, we have an interface for Microsoft Teams, you can do webhooks from other applications as well. So you don't even have to use this interface. However, if you would like to use the interface, we are also changing Databricks in favor of business users, because this has been one of the biggest gaps that we had as a platform, that everybody said, it's very complex because there are these clusters and Python and whatever, and I just don't want to use it because it's a technical platform for nerds. And we have this thing called Databricks 1. So this is and it will get a mobile application as well. So this is currently in the process of being released. And so suddenly, if you are a business user and you don't want to write code or even see that disrupting stuff in the left-hand menu, you can consume Databricks as a visual-only platform. And if you have specific entitlement in Databricks, you will only see this. So you won't be able to see the rest of the complexity. You will just see this. And this is actually a collection of dashboards, Genie spaces, and Databricks apps. I will come to Databricks apps in a moment. So I have created my dashboard. So yeah, the dashboard is here, and now I can see the dashboard that we created just a minute ago, but I don't see all the complexity of Databricks. I just see the visual stuff. So this is Databricks 1, and basically without needing to do anything, I was able to create a dashboard, serve the dashboard to the end user, and it's just a graphical only thing. It's not the whole complexity of Databricks. Okay, how do I get back? So then we have Agentbricks. So they are here under this agents tab, and we have a couple of agents that you can just use. So there is a knowledge assistant. Knowledge assistant is basically an assistant where you give it volume with unstructured data. These can be PDFs, HTML, JPEGs, whatever, MD documents. It's going to parse all of them, learn from them, create an index on the background, and create an agent that will use this index to quickly retrieve the data. So you can talk to your unstructured documents using the knowledge assistant. There are a couple of others. There is a supervisor agent. So I have created actually two. I have one knowledge assistant and I have one supervisor agent. So supervisor is a really nice thing because you can give it up to 20 tools or other agents, and for each agent you can give it some context, right? So I gave it some tools that are basically functions in Unity catalog. This can be Python functions or SQL functions, so it can retrieve data using these functions. You can also give it other agent endpoints, and you can give it Genie spaces. So now you can leverage actually, and you can enrich the data that Genie space can do. You can just put it into supervisor, and now you can combine this with other data, with other Genie spaces, with other agents. Yeah, and you can track these. So I will just quickly go back to my slide because I would like to talk to you about the other options. So in case you don't want to use Genie and you don't want to use Agentbricks, you can do your own agents and run them on Databricks as well. So at this point, these tools will meet because they are all living in MLflow, right? Those of you that worked with Databricks for quite some time with machine learning and statistics and the basic, or not basic, but not AI stuff, you are probably very familiar with MLflow, and we did a big change in MLflow 3.0 that we added a support for agents. So both Databricks provided agents or custom agents live in MLflow. And if I'll go here to do experiment. So this is a MLflow compatible experiment. Even though it comes from Agentbricks, it is the same as if you did your own agent, and it's capturing all the traces, all the prompts, everything that agent did. So I asked it a couple of questions. I think there was even one that failed, which is even the best one to demonstrate. Yeah, this is the one. So I asked it to give me a 3-stop pub crawl around Vinohrady, and this one failed. It says, I apologize. So if agent gives you such an answer, then what do you do? How do you trace the error? So with Databricks, it's actually super easy because the MLflow has all these capabilities built into the platform. So I can see the full reasoning chain of the agent. I can see that, okay, it was doing something, it got the input tokens, called an LLM. The LLM decided to use a tool, still okay. Then it went back to the LLM, then it decided to use yet another tool, and this tool failed. So I can actually see what failed, what was the reason, and so on and so on. So actually everything is captured here. Now it doesn't matter if this is a custom agent or this is an agent coming from Agentbricks. You have MLflow as your, it's also open source, by the way, as your model repository, agent repository, and you have all your agents here. Doesn't matter where they come from. Also, one of the big benefits is that in Databricks we serve, I don't want to say all, but most of the big models. So if you'll just go to the playground, you will have an idea. You will see that we are after Microsoft, we are the other vendor that we are serving GPT models from OpenAI. We have Claude, including the latest stuff, 4.7. Yeah, we have Gemini. We have all the open source models, whether it's Llama, whether it's basically everything that's out there. So you can serve this model from Databricks. On the other hand, if you don't want to, or you have better price elsewhere, you can also run so-called AI gateway on Databricks, and yeah, you can have a gateway to third-party models. So let's imagine that Microsoft gives you better price on GPT 5.4, but you have all your data on Databricks and you don't want to break the lineage, you don't want to break the governance. So you will just create the AI gateway on Databricks, which is now actually free. You are only paying for edit services such as guardrails or inference tables. But if you just want to use the gateway, you can use the gateway free of charge. You will bring the model, serve it through Databricks via the gateway, and you will still have all the benefits of Databricks, including the lineage and the data governance. So yeah, fully open to do your own stuff or use the stuff that comes with Databricks. And the last one is, how do I ship to my customers? So I already showed you the Databricks one. So Databricks one is a way to serve things, but one thing I didn't show you is a full application. So this was one of also very, very big, actually, we had 3 weaknesses in my mind as Databricks. So first of all, it can be considered very complex. So Databricks 1 is patching this weakness. The other weakness that we used to have is we couldn't do OLTP, right? Delta is extremely powerful, but if you want to have sub 300 millisecond or sub 500 millisecond response, it's very difficult, and at some point it's even impossible. On the other hand, there are many databases that happily give you like 50 millisecond end-to-end latency. So we are fixing this gap completely with I'm bad at names, sorry. with our Postgres version, Lakebase, correct? Thank you very much. So Lakebase is our fully managed Postgres. We have acquired a company called Neon, and they were doing a Postgres ready for cloud and agents. So it's a Postgres with decoupled storage and compute, and we are running that. So now we can do OLTP, which is actually amazing for two purposes that are very, very relevant today. First of all, is for running front-end content, right? You want the front end to be super fast. Second, it's agents, because you want to have a good memory for agents, and there are many frameworks that can act as agent memory, but Postgres is actually a very, very good database for that. So you can use Lakebase as a memory for your agents. So that was the other weakness, OLTP, and the third weakness was front-end. We couldn't serve front-end from Databricks at all. So now you can do that thanks to Databricks apps. So I will go to the last part of my demo. So I have built an application. Again, this is very small. I'm sorry for that. So I'll try to zoom in. So I have built this application called Pivobot, which is using the same data that I'm serving. It's using the same agents, the same Unity catalog, and you can ask it basically the same question, but this time you will see what it's doing on the background. And or can you? Do I have internet? Let's see. Let's give it some time. So it's using the same stuff. This is just a small front end that's yeah, for some reason I can't even refresh. So anyway, you can run applications on Databricks. I think the message is clear. Yeah, now, finally. Let's see. Let's give it some time. If not, then yeah, we can chat later about this. But you can run apps. They can interact with all this stuff that we have on the background. So they can call agents, they can call Genie functions, they can call agent bricks. And actually, the stuff that I recorded, that I was showing you just a moment ago, in the traces of this model, they were all called from this application. So just a moment ago, it worked. Probably something is off with my connection, but I think you get the point. So you can serve applications on Databricks. And the other part that I wanted to show you is yeah, basically, so there is Databricks one thing and there is Databricks applications things, so you can fully serve the front end from your application now. So this concludes the three main questions that I think that we have around agents and how you do Agentic on Databricks. So just as a recap, in order to develop the code, we have a product called Genie Code, or you can use your own with our AI Dev Toolkit. In order to build the agents, we have a Genie. That's your capability to speak to your data, and Agent Bricks. Or you can use MLflow 3.0 in combination with the AI Gateway and Lakebase to build your own stuff. And in order to ship and present to the customers, you can leverage the Databricks one that comes with the platform, or you can do custom applications. Hopefully yours will work when you demo them to somebody. But you know, this framework can show anything basically. So the way it works, that you decide what is the code, and we just run the code in a small container. So we are not prescribing anything. You can deploy any code there, and it's supposed to run. So you can do all of that, and then it means you can basically do the end-to-end with Databricks. We have a lot of very nice architectures. I'm happy to speak with you later. Happy to share any materials regarding that if you have any questions. And yeah, with that, I would like to conclude a lot of stuff that I use. So thank you very much, and I think now is time for the questions.
So thank you, Jakub. We have some time for the questions. So I'll repeat the question. So I'll shout it.
Thank you. Is it beneficial to add the additional Databricks skills would the Genie tool, or it's fully aware of Databricks and additional skills of just context?
Yeah, so the question was if it's beneficial to add Databricks skills to Genie code, and I would say no, because that's the point of the tool. So it's supposed to be able to do anything with Databricks. However, if you do something and it doesn't work, you can just tell it directly in that window, remember this as a skill for the next time. So I would say I would not be adding, like proactively, I would not be adding Databricks skills. It's supposed to know. However, if you run into something that's failing, because you know these things are new and things can happen. So if something is failing or you want to do it differently, you can always tell it to either save it as an instruction or save it as a skill, and next time it will do it. So yeah, probably Databricks are the last skills that you need to give it. But for example, if you want it to be able to parse Excel spreadsheet, it cannot do it out of the box, so you can give it a skill and tell it how you wish it to parse Excel spreadsheet, right? You can give it which framework from Python it shall use, or how you want it to parse the Excel spreadsheet. So these skills make a lot of sense. And then, yeah, the rest of the things you can do as an MCP. So it can talk to Jira, Confluence, other things via the MCP server as well.
I heard about Agentic framework by Databricks. Is it that Agentic, or could you tell us more about it?
Okay, so the question is about the Agentic framework from Databricks. So to be honest, I'm not following all that we have out there. So these are the Agentic is the one that is the official product. However, in the Databricks labs, we have a big like different projects. So there we have projects that accelerate the agentic development. We have projects that help the app development. But officially, what we have are really is the Agentic, and this is our framework. Everything else would be just the labs projects or accelerators or other things that we also have, but they are not considered the core product of Databricks.
Created all the dashboards for the static data sets, or like it can be performed the same as for the dynamic data sets as well?
Yeah, so the question was that if we can also create the dashboards for the dynamic data sets. So the answer would probably be no, because the Databricks dashboards only serve the context that is or the content that is basically static, right? The dashboards are static. So if you have like a streaming data or something that you would like to refresh in a real time, you would need to leverage probably Databricks apps. So you can also ask Genie code to build you an application with a custom front end, and then you could have something that's refreshing on a sub-second basis. But our dashboards are more or less static. So basically, when you render the page, we run the queries, then we render the dashboards, and that's the end of the story. If you want to have new data, you need to refresh, and we will always run the live query against the data set. So this way you can make it refresh, but this is not like running the sub-second real-time data. For this, you need a custom application. But luckily, you can do it now with Databricks with the custom apps.
Using the ongoing usual Power BI applications, let's say like ClickSense or the Power BI. So which can cope up with the orchestration of the data. So how different it would be when you're comparing both the platforms, let's say.
Yeah, so I mean, Power BI is still a very good BI tool, right? And most of our customers, especially on Azure, are using Power BI, so there's nothing wrong with you using Power BI. But the app is a different beast, because in the app, you own all the logic. So you can serve really whatever you want in the Databricks app and use whatever framework you wish to use in order to render the data. So I would say, if you can do it in Power BI and you already have Power BI subscription, use Power BI, right? It's a good choice. If it's something that Power BI cannot do for you and you wish to customize, go with the Databricks app, because then sky is the limit, really.
Next question will be like more technical thing. So So how about like semantic modeling in the application, database application? Because this question is like more technical. Let's say, so when you're dealing with the high number of like data sets, so you'll be having like a backend data model as well, and you'll be having a data model which is like beneath the front end, so which we call like a semantic model, right? So in the most of the times in semantic modeling, so we do maintain like one-to-one relationships.
Yep. Yep.
So that can boil down your Snowflake schema
Yep.
to like star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Star, stuff.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for this question because I forgot to present part of my presentation. I just realized. So the question was about semantic modeling, how you do semantic modeling on Databricks. So I completely forgot that I had another angle to my presentation, and that's semantic modeling on Databricks. So this is a very, very, very common scenario that you ask for some measure, and this measure can be as trivial as how many customers we have as a company, or it can be what's our net revenue before taxes or something like that. And I'm betting that you will get 3 or 4 or 10 different answers across the company depending on who you ask. So that's why you need a semantic modeling. And for this we have another feature in Databricks that's called metric views. And the metric views are actually collections of dimensions and measures that you define on top of your raw data. So I have a brewery metrics metric view here. And how do you do it? So if you go to edit and you will go to YAML, so this is how you write it. So it's a pretty technical concept, but yeah, that's what we have. And you define your dimensions and your measures using that thing. So now, and I was actually very likely this was underneath my dashboards. I just didn't know because the agent created them for me. But if the agent knows that I have metric views, it shall use them, because when you ask it what's the total brewery count, so in this case it's a simple measure, but how do you know, right? What if there is something in a data set that says use every brewery which name is not NA or something like that, right? So you can define the measures here, and then when I ask for brewery count, it's going to know that I'm just asking a pure count. And you can define the measures here in Databricks. You can have these metric views, and that's our answer to the semantic data model. A colleague of mine is working on a concept called names. Metric Jet, and Metric Jet is a utility that we have that's that can work also with the Power BI. So you can use it both directions, either to if you, because many customers, let's be honest, they already built this in their Power BI or in some other application. So they already have semantic data model. So we don't want to force them to drop it and just recreate everything on Databricks. So we have Metric Jet utility that can extract these, and it shall be able to synchronize the metric views between Databricks and Power BI. So you can define your semantic data model here, then all the agents, dashboards, everybody can use the measures, and yeah, we can also extract it and import it back to the Power BI. So yeah, that's it. And you can also publish. If you work with Power BI, we can already publish the data straight to the semantic model, so you don't even have to touch the Power BI. You don't have to use the desktop or whatever. We can already push it as a semantic model there. Yeah, thank you.
Great questions. One more last question, and then we can follow up, of course, with more questions in the networking.
So we could be until 9 because the question was about security. So there are many concepts about security, right? So first of all, I would say that the biggest benefit here is that we run everything under the user that's logged into Databricks, right? You cannot serve this to third-party customers and just serve the front end. So even if you would embed this into your internal applications, we would always ask for login, and then we would log you into Databricks, and we would use your user to run all of these. So basically, if you don't have rights to read the data from Unity catalog, then you can do all the agent bricks and all of that stuff on top of it, but you still don't have access, so you will not see the data. So this is one of the concepts. But when we talk to our customers, especially very regulated customers, usually there are security checklists that have, I don't know, like 50 pages of just questions, right? And there is a lot of angles to security. So what I can tell you is that we have a super regulated customers, especially in banking, and they are able to use this stuff in their production. So we went through these, and it took us months at sometimes to go through the security departments of the big banks, and in the end we were able to curate most of the stuff. So here and there, you know, there are things that they would not allow to do, but you know, all these things, like they will usually ask for private link connectivity, customer managed keys, you know, yada yada yada, these checklists. So we have answers, and we have detailed answers for most of these products. So I can tell you there are banks using this in production, and to me this means that they are okay with the security model behind. But we can talk about security forever, and there would be probably some angles that are hard. Also the whole thing with agents, right? How do you make sure that the agent doesn't do something nasty? Like, basically you don't. So you need to restrict the privileges around it. You cannot allow the user to perform the action, because if user can perform the action, then agent will find a way to do it as well. So you still need to control the security and access to your data. With Databricks, actually, there was, you know, we are running out of time, but there was now a very big attack with this light LLM, right? So a lot of the services were impacted by this. So actually, if you would be using Databricks gateway to your models, you wouldn't be impacted, because this was one of the vectors that we caught, and it didn't occur. So if you're using the stuff provided by Databricks, you already have a supported platform, and we are doing our best to make it as secure as possible. And then, of course, like, you cannot escape many of the security questions. You still need to deal with them. We do provide inference tables, which means we can log everything that the agent does and have this for audit purposes. You have AI guardrails with Databricks, so you can on every model served with Databricks, you can put the custom guardrails and check if the prompts are, or the answers are following the custom guardrails that you set there. But yeah, security is very complex.
All right, so thank you all for your questions. This was talk by Jakub Augustín from Databricks. So thank you, Jakub, again.